everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is so dear to my heart. It's titled, I Messed Up. What do you do when you're the one who messes up for an event? My name is Shilay Bello, and I'm the founder of RAE Affairs, a wedding planning firm in the DC area. And I really created this Ray Moments platform as an opportunity for us to learn, share, and grow together. I truly believe that this is a safe space where we get to talk about real things that people go through. And I've gotten this question a lot of times from my planner friends and people that I mentor. How do I get over messing up on an event? And it's a real question. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to mention is that I know that as event professionals, sometimes we think we're larger than life. We think we're above mistakes because it's so easy to deal with, like, we're used to dealing with the vendors messing up and them being the ones that have issues, and we're coming in to fix everybody's issues, right? And we never have problems. But sometimes we do mess up, right? To your greatest surprise, that happens sometimes. And so it's important for us to remember that we're only human. Even the best of men, not to say we're the best, but even the best of men are still men. And sometimes we mess up. And how do we rise above that? How do we move on? Some people, you mess up, it's not that much of a big deal. And sometimes it's a big deal. Like it's a big deal. And how do we rise above that? So I think the first thing you have to remember is that everyone messes up. It happens sometimes. Even the best of people, like I said, still mess up. And one thing you have to also remember is that this is not going to be your only time you're going to mess up. It could happen again. So knowing how to recover and knowing what to do is more important than beating yourself up about the issue. I wrote down a few points because I want to make sure that we get to write things down and get a lot out of the few moments that we're going to be spending here together. So the first thing that I want you to write down is you have to be honest. Be honest with your client if you do mess up. It's important that you don't try to hide the truth. You don't try to twist the truth to fit your story. Just let them know. Give them a call. If you realize you're the one that messed up, give them a call, pick up the phone, let them know. Something happened, it wasn't supposed to, I apologize, and this is how we're gonna remedy the situation. Don't come to them just saying, something happened, guys, and be freaking out. No, they hired you as the wedding planner knowing that there might be some issues, but they expect for you to come up with solutions. So don't call them and tell them there's a problem that you did and you don't have a solution for how to fix that problem. So own up to it, but have a solution. Have a strategy of how you're gonna come out of it. Not you come out of it, but how we're gonna fix the situation. Another option of what could happen, which is not what anyone hopes for, is if the client is the one that realizes that there is a problem. And I'm gonna have a truth moment with you guys today and let you know about something that happened to me personally. Again, like I said, this is a platform for us to learn together. And so I really believe that giving personal examples helps to connect the dots and helps for us to understand better. So here's what happened. I had a wedding one time and my groom had planned on doing a surprise for his bride. And it was a surprise song he was gonna do. We planned this for months. She had no idea. 4 days before the wedding, guys, 4 days, I updated the timeline. I'm sitting in my office. I'm like, I should make sure the DJ knows all the details of how it's gonna happen. And I put every detail in there. So unfortunately, I didn't realize I was updating it on the drive that I share with the couple. So 3 days before the wedding, guess who gets a phone call? Me. And the bride calls me and she is mad. She's asking me, I'm looking at the timeline and I see something about a surprise. Is that supposed to be for me? Guys, my whole world froze in that moment. I was like, wait, what? And she's like, is the surprise supposed to be for me? I was like, oh my goodness. I felt so horrible. I tried to call the groom to rectify it. There was no coming back, guys. Your girl was sinking at that point. And I felt so bad. And when I spoke with the bride, one of the things she said to me, she said she was disappointed. You don't want to know how that crushed me. It crushed me. You work for your client's approval. You want them to be happy with you. And so knowing that she was disappointed in that moment, it really hurt me. But one thing that I think is also important, write this down, is that you want to make sure that you listen to what they have to say after you've told them about how you messed up. And you also want to make sure that you are able to apologize. So in that moment, all I did was say, I'm sorry. I didn't try to give her excuses. Don't try to give excuses. Don't try to explain anything. It's not worth it. Just let them know, I hear you. I'm sorry. It shouldn't have happened, and leave it there. You want to make sure you apologize as much as you can. Realize that because you make a mistake, it doesn't mean you're a failure. So that mistake doesn't define the entirety of who you are. That's very key, because for us who are creative, sometimes when we make mistakes, we think that that means that we failed. You haven't failed as a person, you just happen to make a mistake. So focus on the fact that you made a mistake, apologize for the mistake, but don't internalize it and think about yourself as a failure. Another thing that's really important, to write this down again, guys, is that you want to make sure that you have an internal review. Again, internal review doesn't mean that you're defining yourself by that one moment, but it's about saying to yourself, how do I make sure that in my business, this doesn't happen again? What processes have I created in my business that allowed this to happen, and how do I change that? And that's really key. So in my case, for this particular example, I said to myself, no more, never again would I ever have a surprise written down in anywhere, whether it's email, whether it's on a document, because even if that bride didn't see it on an email or in a drive, she could have seen it on the morning of the wedding. One of our wedding documents were hanging around somewhere. So it's important that, for me, I took away from that experience not to ever have anything in writing. And if it's a surprise, just make a phone call. Everybody that needs to know will know by telling them over the phone, but not to ever have it in writing. Whatever your situation is, there is something to learn. Even if you feel like somebody else caused you to make the mistake, there is something to learn from every situation. I'm a person of faith, and the more you hear about my content, you'll get to know a little bit more about that, because I talk a lot from that perspective. And from that perspective, I really truly believe that God allows certain things to happen in our lives now so that we don't have to deal with them in the future. And so in this case, I feel like sometimes we make mistakes, and God is saying, okay, this mistake, I want you to happen now so that you can learn from it, so that you don't make it further in the future. And so you have to pause and say to yourself, what can I do? What could I have done differently? And make sure that you make that change, because there's no point in the mistake happening if you're not going to learn from it, right? So make sure you pause and ask yourself. The other thing that I think is really important, I heard this at a conference and I really love it. It's something called surprise and delight. So what that is essentially is doing something to surprise your couple that brings them joy. And so in this situation, you're not trying to surprise them with a gift to replace the issue or the mess up that you had, but you're trying to go out of your way. So you've apologized, you've owned up to it, you've done everything you could do, but if you're trying to go out of your way to really make it up to them, it's a way to kind of just do something for them that maybe they've talked about wanting a particular thing at their wedding. They talked about wanting a dancer, or, in my case, this couple, they talked about wanting a vintage car. This was like very early on in the planning process. It never came up again. I went back to my notes and I said, okay, they talked about this. How am I going to make this surprise happen for them? I wanted to do something for them that was special for their wedding, and not just something abstract. You want to make sure it's something that they want. And that way you're going out of your way to show them. It might cost you a little bit of money. In this case, it did cost me some money, but I was able to gather some of my vendor friends together to make it happen for them, even though it cost me out of pocket. And so I'm not saying go spend your life savings of getting something for the couple, but what I'm saying is that be intentional about thinking about, how can I do something special for them? It doesn't always have to cost you something, but it's about going out of your way to do something special. It could be that maybe they're planning a pre-wedding event and you weren't supposed to be planning that, and you decide to offer your services just a way to make up for something. I don't know. You have to figure out what matters to your couple, but surprise and delight is really a great thing. And I feel like I'm going to do a whole topic on surprise and delight another day. So watch out for that, because I really love the concept of it. And I think that there's a lot more to unpack in that. So moving right along, I think that it's also important that you make sure that you ask yourself, have I really forgiven myself? Because I think that's a big thing. Sometimes we mess up, the client has moved on, everybody else has moved on, but you're the only one that's internalizing it. You're the only one that's still feeling bad and down, and you feel like you feel like you suck. I know when that happened to me, I just felt like I suck. I don't want to hear it. No one is ever gonna hire me again. You just make a big deal about the issue. It's a big deal that something happened. What I'm trying to say is that you then take it so far where you then are looking at yourself only from the mirror of what you made, the mistake you made. And I think it's important to know that it's not about making a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's about how you rise up from that mistake. So I really encourage you to take these steps. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that you watched this. Please make sure you follow me, Get Social. Follow me on social media at Ray Moments RAE moments. And also, I encourage you to join the community. It's better when we do life together. So please join our community. Go on raymoments.com to find out more information about that. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I hope you got to learn something new. I hope you enjoyed me sharing with you today. And I really, really hope that you grow. My desire is to see you grow and to see you succeed and make a difference. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. See you soon.